Cool. What is going on, people? This is CJ here of the Three Black Geeks, and we're live at Blerdcon, and I'm here with
TJ Sterling, President, CEO at RAE Comics. What's up, y'all?
So, these comics.
That's right.
What was the inspiration? I mean, I think we talked about this. Toku obviously is the inspiration, as people can see here.
Absolutely.
So
really.
What was kind of the thing to kind of put it over from it not being a typical, like, oh, we're just Power Rangers ripoff? Like, how was the whole thought process?
Yeah. I think for me, anytime I make something as a creator, I always want it to be inspired. You know what I'm saying? Something that's really kind of unique, different, and kind of takes all of the elements from things that I like. So for me, 90s, I absolutely love the Toku genre. Everything from VR Troopers, the Beetleborgs, the Power Rangers, the Guyver, anything in that genre. It was, to me, never enough black and brown people doing those things in those roles, with the exception of maybe Zach or a couple of other here sprinkled there.
Black characters in every season.
Correct. So like, wanted to just be more than one of us, a legion of us in a particular space, and also wanted to make it very anatomical and sci-fi accurate. So for me, just like taking little pieces. Also, this story, Alchemist, very much X-Men inspired, Spawn inspired, Kamen Rider, Hulk inspired, like it has all those really cool 90s vibes right in the book. So really just taking little pieces and kind of like making a little gumbo with it.
What do you feel is the appeal for most folks to like gravitate to this? Like, what has been the selling point that you kind of get people to like, oh, hey, you'll like this because of X, Y, and Z? Yeah,
I think honestly I've been pretty blessed just with people like the writing, they like the story behind it. No, it's very non-linear, it's kind of really organic, and it's the biggest universe I have. It's kind of like my Invincible. It's like my superhero universe, built kind of like an untraditional way. And we have, kind of branched that off into different series, like Shattered Visions or Joystick Angels. And we're also doing lots of other series that are outside of the regular Toku genre. So really just trying to do something different,
Yeah. Do you feel like, with how COVID and we're coming out, that kind of changed the game in terms of a lot of creatives?
Yeah, 2020, there was an explosion of black comic creators that were literally building stuff online, new stories, new narratives, and they all kind of showed up 2021 because they were in the think tank just grinding away. So it's really beautiful because the more and more of us that we have, the more movies we get, the more games we get, the more everything we get, and that's really what we need as a whole.
Have you actually tried, has there been, obviously when you do something like this and you're building out these characters and you build out this world, is there like kind of like in the back of your head like, hey, maybe this could be animated in some way, or is that kind of like you're not really thinking about it ever?
Oh yeah, 100%. I think animation is definitely in the future for us. It's really just kind of a matter of continuing to build the fan base, getting people to know about what we do, as well as gaining some larger investments, because we talk animation movies where, in the millions, and that in itself right there, you need a couple million to make 10. Yeah. You need 200 million to make $1 billion. This is kind of how it works. People think about Fast and Furious or any of those Vin Diesel produced movies. A lot of times he goes to Europe to get funding.
Yeah.
And then literally he'll get 250 million and then make $1 billion with those. So it all kind of depends, but you start with one where there's a fan base, it's successful, and then you build from there.
Yeah, how did you go about doing the character artwork for all this? Because obviously, like you said, you were very inspired by that, but like, I guess what is the first thought process when you're crafting these characters? Because all of them are very different from one another. They're not really the same. So what is your thought process going into that?
Thinking really about the character that is behind each person. Massaro, the guy in purple, he's kind of like the monstrosity. He's like the big fighter, the big, strong guy. The guy in red, he's kind of like the Red Ranger, the leader, but he's evil. He's the bad guy. So he's kind of got that same level of like swag, confidence, but also kind of has a darker path.
Yeah.
We have a heroine character, a woman heroine character, but she's also kind of on the dark side too, and she eventually, switches paths. And then Bane is more the brilliance, he's more the mind. So each one of their personalities influences how they look, their armor, everything design-wise too.
Yeah, because we were talking actually before we started this, you were mentioning how like with Power Rangers, the way the suits are just as an aesthetic, it does throw you off, which you're right, it does throw you off and stuff unless you don't really care about that. But you mentioned the whole thing with nanotechnology and stuff.
That's
so that was pretty much the basics for these characters and how they wear the armor and such?
Absolutely, because to me, it's like, the knights of old being able to wear metal armor and going into battle with a sword, and that was like warfare.
Yeah.
But if you're, fast forwarding the tape, 5,000 years later, what does it look like with the same thing? Like if I'm going to war, because these characters come from a future where they're fighting monsters all the time because the world's overrun by them.
Yeah.
So literally, like, we have to have armor that makes sense, that regenerates. It's not like a piece of metal, but like nanotech armor that's flexible. You know what I'm saying? So just cool little science bits I like to throw in there.
So as a Toku fan, obviously, is it great seeing like how Toku, especially like on the Ultraman side, it's starting to become a big thing now? So I mean, from your perspective, are you happy to actually see that kind of hit mainstream now?
I'm an old school 90s anime head. So like I was watching anime before it technically came to the States.
Oh, same here. Yeah.
So like that in itself was, and then watching things that are slowly moving to the American market. And now so many people like it, love it, and want it. And I've been liking, loving it for years. It's just cool that everybody's catching on and we're all enjoying it together.
So you feel that kind of basically it's a fringe benefit of like, oh, now people are like, oh, what is this? Let me check this out. So
yeah, absolutely. So again, like I said, I encourage anybody, if you're interested in that genre, make more characters in it. There's so many cool stories that we can do. You know what I'm saying? Like shout out to the homie Johnny Quatre of why am I blanking out? He has a comic book series called Kuba Delisha. Okay. It is essentially a Super Sentai type story, but it's done through the lens of like African mythology. So the characters have armor similar to how my characters have armor, but it's summoned through actual spiritual like creatures in the African lore. So there's so many different things. It's still a Sentai genre, it's still Toku genre, but it's done through a whole different lens. So more spiritual and magic, where mine's more tech based. So again, there's so many different ways and things you can do with it.
So lastly, you know, going through the convention scene and such, what has been like the most fun and interesting things that you've seen in the convention scene, whether it's Blerdcon or San Diego or just any other spot from your point of view?
I think when it comes to Toku stuff, just people cosplaying it. I mean, there was a crazy fire Black Ranger yesterday with the gold, you know what I'm saying, the gold shield. Even his cosplay yesterday was bomb. His Green Ranger was on point. It was the Rising Sun joint with the
Bat in the Sun.
The Bat in the Sun. Sorry, Bat in the Sun joint. Yes, I knew. 100%.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time.
Of course, man. Always,
I see your stuff all the time.
Thank you.
And I think when I saw you at San Diego some years ago, I was like, let me check this out.
Yeah, man.
Read the first issue and I was like hooked. So.
Bam, I love that.
So be sure to check out RAE Comics. Check out the material. You can find them. Where can you find you at? Actually?
Yeah, super easy. RAE Comics, RAEcomics.com. Everything that you see here on the table is available for sale. Again, Alchemist is a sci-fi martial art action story with the main character has to kind of discover who he is and figure out why these Super Sentai type warriors are just, basically after him from the future. We also have a prequel story, Alchemist Dark History, which gives you the origin of where everything begins. And also, fun fact, I'm drawing the last issue in the series of Alchemist right now, Alchemist number 6, which concludes our graphic novel right here and kind of rounds out the story. And then we're building spin-offs afterwards.
Cool. Well, I appreciate you taking time.
Likewise.
And we'll see you guys later. Peace.
Deuces.